Alright guys, let's do this. Let's get in here and play ourselves some chess. This is my first time playing a chess game on video. So I don't know how quite this is going to turn out. But yeah, I'll play and we'll, see where it goes. So I'm gonna go here for a 15 plus 10 rapid game, I think. I wanna give myself enough time to think, come up with some solid ideas, but not quite so much time that I feel like it eventually starts dry. Although I do want to do longer games later, so I'm gonna go ahead and play pawn d4 here, queen's pawn opening. So I have this in Zen mode because I don't want to be distracted, like, be thinking about my opponent's rating or anything, so I have no straw on my opponent, actually. So he goes pawn c5. This is a pretty uncommon move. I mean, I could go ahead and just take, but the thing is, if I take, then I potentially leave the e5 square here open. So I think my two moves here, I can either go pawn c4, or I could go knight f3. I think, though, I am going to go ahead and do knight f3 just for the sake of piece development. Okay, pawn d5, decent enough, decent enough. Okay, okay. So there's actually a potential here for an early queen trade. If I go pawn c4, takes, and then takes, then he takes my queen, and then I take, but then in this case, it, actually ends up being a pretty straightforward game. So that's one option there. I could maybe go like bishop g5 as an idea, I feel like. Just so that this pawn is on e7 is pinned. I could also maybe go pawn h3, trying to prevent the bishop g4 maneuver. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go ahead and do play pawn c4. My idea here is that I mean, we could do the early queen trade, but if not, there's various possible captures like going on here in the position, which we could take advantage of later. And if nothing else, I feel like this could potentially lead to a pretty interesting game. Okay, so far we've got symmetrical play, knight f6. So in this case, I can take first, in which case, yeah, I take his, so if takes, 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 then he loses castling rights, which is really big for me, so I think I'm going to go ahead and do it. Oh, okay. That's actually not a bad move. Queen a5, okay. So the idea is that he's gonna then try to retake this pawn. Okay, okay. Alright. I think probably knight c3 is the move here. And then if takes, then let's see, pawn takes, knight takes, knight takes, and then queen can't take because queen takes. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and go for it then. Knight c3 it is. I mean, in these instances where you just trade the pawns early, it's usually fairly easy for them to just get, traded back. So yeah, I think I worked that out right. So takes, and then he can't take, because then I just take with the knight. And then, I mean, yeah, it's like that just is what it is. Yeah, so yeah, let's go ahead. Hold on, is there anything else I'm missing here? Any tricks with the bishop or anything? I don't think so. I mean, he could play the knight, but yeah, he doesn't really have much else going on right now. So I am gonna go ahead and just take that. Now he can maybe do like pawn e6 here, with the idea then that he's trying to bring the bishop out, but then I just take, and then bishop takes, or maybe pawn takes. Right. No, he could also maybe go pawn g6 though. Okay, yeah, so he goes bishop f5. Okay, just bringing the bishop out. Can I go queen a4 here, maybe? Is queen a4 an option? Let's see, queen... I think... It maybe as well. So let's see. Yeah. So like, if Queen A4, Knight on B to D7. But then that leaves the D5 pawn potentially hanging in some lines. So I'm thinking maybe I should actually go pawn E3 here, and the idea is that I can still potentially check with the bishop. And it just helps me develop my pieces. I'm gonna do that. Pawn E3. Guy's going a little fast here. He's not really used it that much of his time yet, or maybe he's just, feels fairly confident. So, but okay, so I have en passant here, guys. Do I want to take en passant? Um, I think I probably do, and the reason is that if I do that, so say takes, right, and then bishop takes, then I can potentially have a e4 pawn push unimpeded. Yeah, I'm doing it en passant. So I feel like he should take with the bishop here. If he had taken with the pawn, he would then be left without isolated e pawn in the center, which would have, of course, not necessarily been, I guess we would say, pleasant or ideal in that situation, right? So now the question is, do I go ahead and push e4? I'm really feeling tempted here to just go the e4 pawn push. Is there any maneuvers he can potentially have there? And then, of course, that also opens up, like, bishop g5 as well. This bishop here on f8 isn't very good right now. I mean, it could potentially be if the queen gets out of the way. The knight can get into the game easily enough. Castling is here in the near future. Um, I, or I could go just bishop g5 here is an option too. Let's see, if bishop g5, then knight, and then if takes, queen would take. He doesn't want to take with the pawn. That also lets me gain a tempo for my being able to castle. So let's do it. Bishop g5. I mean bishop b5. Blah blah blah. I don't think there's any tactical tricks here I'm missing that I can see. Yeah, figured as much. I mean, yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna just go ahead here and just straight up castle. Just not even thinking. Um, he could potential. Oh, okay, okay. Oof. All right. Um, let's see. I could move the bishop, or I could potentially just put the knight on d4, and then takes with the knight, takes, but then rook takes is still an option. Yeah, yeah. Bishop d2 might actually be my only way to defend against that. Should have seen it coming, my dudes. But alas, All right, yeah, we'll just roll with it. Bishop d2. I don't know why I didn't see icon of those. I mean, like I feel like that you know rook move there is pretty obvious, right? But I mean, whatever, C'est la vie, right? Okay, so I have an idea here, which is I can actually so I can play rook c. I can play queen c2, but then if he goes like knight e2, then I can't just take because then queen takes. I'm sorry, I know I need to get my queen out of the way though, so it's off of the d file. So yeah, I think if I'm gonna go for that, then queen e2 is probably my only option if I want to do that. And then I may have to play pawn h3 after, so he doesn't then try to get sneaky with a bishop g4 maneuver and threaten my knight. So, yeah, queen e2 it is then. I mean, I may be going a little too quickly here. I don't think I'm doing. I actually don't think I'm doing too horribly time wise. Yep, castles. Okay, okay. Now, which rook do I bring to the D file then? I think I maybe want to bring the F1 rook. I mean, I could bring the A rook, because my idea is that I want to either rook on D8, right? But the thing is, though, if I use the F rook, wait, no, sorry, no. If I use the A rook, then C1 is open, and I'm not challenging the queen. So I think rook D1 is going to be the move here. And let's see, what are some of his ideas? I mean, I was thinking maybe he could try to go bishop c4, but then I just take, and then he can't take with the queen, so that's pretty safe. I'm thinking probably bishop g4 would be pretty solid for him here. Um, yeah, I mean, this d6 bishop isn't really going anywhere anytime soon, right? I mean, like, it could like go. Okay, there it is. Yep, bishop g4. Um, yeah. So one idea is I could go h3, bishop h5, pawn g4, bishop g6. In theory, he could take with the knight there, and then like pawn takes and then bishop takes. But I mean that will leave me with a slight material advantage. And I think here though, h3 is still the pretty obvious move, right? Because if he just takes, then queen takes, and then I'm pretty much mostly doing okay there. And then if he tries to go knight here, then I have queen b7. Okay, yep. So, um, yeah, I'm thinking, do I want to just go ahead and play g4 here, then just go ahead and kick the bishop back? I'm thinking I probably do. He's not gonna have any, real way to take these pawns without, giving me a slight material advantage. Um, I mean, like you can maybe argue that could potentially weaken the area around my king. But I mean, like he doesn't really have much pointed this way. Like g4 is covered. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go and just do it. Now, trying to decide though, this knight's been sitting here just hanging, right? Do I want to eventually go ahead and just take that? Do I want? Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, he does it. Okay, oh yeah. So in this case, he pretty much just trades a piece for two pawns. And I mean that's just an automatic recapture. Yup. Um. Yeah, I think I do probably want to take the knight here because there's some ideas here where he goes knight e5, and then he's double attacking the knight. So yeah, let's go ahead and just take that knight out of there. I mean he's probably gonna just retake with the queen. I'll be shocked if he takes with the pawn. Oh, he takes with the pawn. Okay, okay, homie. I see you out here. I mean, all right. You do your thing, even if it's wrong and it sucks. I have. So I'm up material here. So I think I have an option to play knight e4, and then this forks the queen and the bishop, right? So like, I mean, the queen's gonna move somewhere, and then I go ahead and just take the bishop. Um, yeah. In that case, I'm having an extra piece. He has. What's he have? Is that two? No, he only has one extra pawn. Okay. Um. Now let's see. I have to check and see if I'm like missing anything obvious here. All right. Um. Yeah, I don't think so. He could maybe. Well, if knight, he could go queen c2, and then I take, and then rook takes, but then I go pawn b3, so this pawn is no longer hanging. And then I think I'm okay. All right. Yeah, I like that. I'm not seeing any real problems or anything potential with this here. Okay, okay. Um, That was actually a really good swing there, dang. So the point is that now the knight is threatened two ways. He could maybe try to go like queen h2. Wow, am I in trouble here, guys? I think I may be starting to get into a little bit of trouble. This is actually not good, guys. I should have seen queen h5 there. I should have seen it. Mm. I could just go ahead and take. No, no, I don't think that's it, guys. I do not think that's it. Is this? I think this knight is probably just gone. Actually, um, I see. Yeah, because if knight and then sorry, bishop takes, queen goes here, and then bishop takes, rook takes, rook takes. Mm. I think all that really happens at the end of this here is I probably end up just giving up my material advantage. So I think that just going ahead and taking the bishop is probably the way to go. Wait, crap, hold on. Guys, I just blundered this. Oh, I just blundered this. Because here he's actually threatening mate. Oh, he's I think taking f3 is force. That's the only way here I don't get mated. Uh yeah, takes, and then, I mean that's uh yeah, I think I may have cost you games. I mean, I don't have a choice. I genuinely don't have a choice. That was good. That's a good tactical maneuver right there. Yeah, I should have just seen the FH5 idea. That would have, I guess, it made life a lot easier all around for me. I think here, yeah, I have to go knight c4. Because that there's just no other safe square to move the knight. So yeah, that's my bad, guys. This is the idea. I should have seen it. I think I have to go king f1 here. He's probably going to go queen h3 next. Ah! Did not see the hanging knight. I mean, do I dare to fight on a little longer? Sure, let's just go all the way out with this and all king g1. I go probably pawn b3 here. I'm trying to move the queen around. I don't know what all that would try to do or accomplish. So the thing is, I know that I don't want to trade any more pieces. I don't want to move this bishop off anywhere. Because then, like, rook takes. I mean, bishop b4 won't be moved, but, like, rook takes, rook takes. Oh. I think what I can maybe do is go, like, pawn b3 probably, and then, like, rook c1. trying to get the rook potentially into the game. And again, there's still a chance that he'll blunder something else or whatever later. So yeah, b3 it is. And then this is mate. This is mate. Yeah, I just go king h1, and then he goes queen h4 mate. Yeah, I don't think I'm seeing any other way out here, right? Yeah, this is it. I'll just let him aim me. Let him have the... Yep. There it is. Well. Alright. There it is. There we have it, guys. So let's go ahead and go back through that one again then. I think he mostly just had some ideas there which I just didn't quite see or was able to anticipate. So I'm going to go ahead and go analyze this. So... okay, so I go pawn d4. I'm going to pull down my opening explorer here. So I go pawn d4, he goes pawn c5. And then I go knight f3, pawn d5, pawn c4. Yeah, so I think them here, I'm thinking was sound. I was really thinking there that maybe he was going to go ahead and just do takes, and then takes, and then we just trade the queens early. So it's kind of debatable here, I think, whether this is actually bad for me. Just accepting the early queen trade. There's a couple of different openings where you naturally have the queens come off straight away, and so the idea is, yes, I lose castling rights here, but the queen's off of the board, and so whatever attack black tries to mount after this, just kind of naturally loses a little bit of its firepower. And then I have ideas of, going like knight c3 and then like pawn e4 eventually, right? Now here the position is pretty symmetrical, right? So like if he just goes like knight f6 here, then we've got essentially the same position, with the difference being that I no longer have the right to castle. But again, I don't know, I would say that's, really not too bad for me, right? And like I have ideas here of like going king c2 or something eventually, right? Well, maybe not. I mean, not king c2 immediately, but like knight c3, knight e4. The main trick there, though, if I try to do castling by hand, which is where you just move the king like over to a safer square, right? There's the possibility here, though, of bishop coming out. So I think here, what do I do? I'd probably go like, yeah, probably knight c3. Again, trying to prepare the e4 push. He can't go e5 yet. I wonder if he would maybe go like, well, so he can either go pawn e6 here, with the idea being that the bishop is then going to come out and take this pawn, but then the problem there is that the c8 bishop is hemmed in and has no way to get onto the long diagonal. I think one thing that I could probably do here, just at some point, is I could probably even go like pawn b4 or something, right? And the idea then is that like if he is going to move that eventually, I go pawn b4, right? It's not necessarily as easy as you would think to take that pawn, because actually, hold on, let me show you. So like I'll just go ahead and stick with pawn e6 here. So pawn b4, he tries to go like knight c6, and then here actually I have the move pawn b5. Just, kicking the knight around wherever I want, kind of willy-nilly. He's probably going to go knight a5 here, and then I go bishop d2. And then as soon as this, knight moves probably to a4, right? Then the knight is all of a sudden out of safe squares to escape to. Now on the other hand, though, you could actually go for the same... Oh wait, hold on, I just realized again, if I go b4 here, we have the same idea that we saw later in the game, which is that he can en passant me, and then I take, and now this rook's open, and then what's he do here? I feel... So he's probably actually going to go ahead and just take this then. Yeah, in which case I'm down a pawn again. But I mean, I feel like I have like... Oh, I probably here have to play pawn e3. And the idea is that he's not going to then be able to come and take this bishop on e2. So anyways, I guess basically what I'm saying then is I look at all these pawn trades, and I feel like we're ultimately doing pretty okay. I mean, all things considered, you know, like I just kind of trade down pieces and then just go from there. So anyways, what actually happened, so he instead went queen a5 here. I have to say, I think this guy was a pretty good player. I mean, if I were in that position, my instinct would have been to just go ahead and take the c pawn outright. Yeah, and so I then played knight c3 here. And the reason was that I didn't want to play bishop d2 too early and potentially cut the queen off from activity. And so, I mean, yeah, then he just, you know, whatever, queen takes, right? I decided that well, I decided that I want to take the pawn first because I felt like it was easier for me to defend here. Right, again, I have the idea of like an e4 potentially incoming. So he goes bishop f5. I go pawn e3. He goes pawn e5. So as I think about that, so I ended up doing en passant here. I'm not quite sure if en passant here is necessarily the best idea. And I guess the reason is like this is a powerful d pawn here, right? I'm kind of thinking that it may have been better for me to just go ahead and maybe say like play, you know, bishop d3 here or something. And so the idea there is a couple different ideas. So one is that if I go bishop d3 and he takes, then I just go queen d3, and then the pawn on d5 is still doubly protected. If he could also potentially go bishop g4 here, and then maybe it's like pawn and then like takes, and then he could go ahead and just take back. Actually, no, he can't take back the pawn here. I was thinking he could, but see, if knight takes the pawn, and then knight takes, yeah, he can't take back with the queen because my queen's guarding it. So, yeah, that line will probably be fine. So that will probably gone about the same way they did in the game with like bishop g5, and then like pawn g4, you know, and then knight, pawn, bishop, and then I'm at this point castling maybe isn't the best for me. And I think that castling isn't the best because in this position, the H and G pawns are both already off the board, and so I will not have the same protection around the king. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think that they're just playing bishop d3 would have probably been better. But anyways, what we got in the actual game though was en passant, and then bishop takes. And I explained this during the game, but he can't very easily take with the f pawn here. Because one, that's just an e pawn in the isolated pawn in the center of the board, right? It doesn't have anybody on its side, protecting or defending it. And also it means the bishop can potentially go back along this diagonal. Although I mean, the bishop, if it needs to move, can just fall back to g6 here or whatever. Pretty common in these kinds of structures. So yeah, just basically taking with the bishop was the best. And then bishop e5, I thought this was decent. I still kind of stand by this. Well, or do I? Well, because I guess what happens here is that, I mean, we'll see this again, but here I'm like, thinking like I'm getting my bishop out and all, but the thing is, the bishop is taking an attacking post on b5, when it may have perhaps been better for just to take a more calm, just kind of defensive, just non-aggressive position on e2. I think, yeah, I think them playing that here would have helped to make a lot of my problems later on a lot easier. Yeah, and then, like, I mean, knight c6 probably ends up coming out anyways, and then, like, bishop e7's coming, then, like, I castle, and then, like, bishop e7 probably happens, and then he's gonna castle next, and then we just gonna continue playing some chess, so, yeah, and then, well, I mean, I'll just kind of throw a move in here just to show you something, so, like, say pawn a3, and then he goes bishop g4 here, and then say, like, we have the same sequence that we had in the game, right? Where, you know, that these pawns and the pieces and all start coming off, right? So, let's see, so here he still has, the pawns, he still has here the same queen, h5 idea. So I think then mm, let's say here, like, knight d4, bishop takes, queen takes, knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, and how are we looking there? In this case, I'm down a bunch of pawns, but I still have the extra bishop. He doesn't really have much going here, I don't think. Like, you know, like, queen g4 doesn't work later because, like, then queen just takes, right? If he feels like blundering a piece, which, I mean, he was a pretty strong player, I think, so he's probably not going to do that. And then just, yeah, I think that this here, would have been fine. I guess what I'm saying here is that having the bishop there on e2 would have really helped to prevent a lot of these tactical complications which came later. But anyway, so he goes knight c6, and then I castle, and then rook. Yeah, I'm wondering here if maybe I should have just gone ahead and played bishop d2 preemptively. I mean, the position ends up being the same, right? But, or I could have probably also gone ahead and just played queen e2 instead. He could potentially, I mean, you would think maybe he could have ideas of potentially going like bishop c4 or something later, right? But if he goes bishop c4, then I mean that's just a blunder, right? And remember, guys, this is all just off the cuff analysis, right? So, but yeah, I think then queen e2 there would have probably been best. Anyways, moving on with the game though. So it goes rook d8, bishop d2, and then bishop d6. And this is an interesting position to see here, where these bishops are just potentially going to be eyeing on the king side. One idea here is I could potentially go like something like g3, but then the problem there though is that in the event of bishop g4, that means I have even less protection for the knight. I'm sorry, so I did do then end up going queen e2 anyways. He castles. I still think that this particular maneuver with the rooks was the correct one. I'm trying to challenge him here, and if anything, it's a little weird that he brought the A rook over d8 instead of the F rook, because I think it may have been better for him to also try to go for a setup where he has like the rook on c8 and then the rook on d8, right? I think that helps a little more to take advantage of the situation going on here on these center diagonals. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. So he goes bishop g4. Yeah, I think this here is where I'm starting to get into some trouble. I mean, like, so I really thought here what was gonna happen was that I was gonna go h3. He was gonna go bishop h5, and then I go pawn g4. And usually the idea here is that the bishop just goes ahead and goes back to g6. And I hear it's potentially gonna maybe find a home on e4 later and just, threaten the knight in another way. Maybe the a6, h6 pawn advances, and then it's just falls back and is just kind of eyeing everything from a distance. I think I did not appreciate just how strong this position here. Just going ahead and taking what the knight actually is, and I think that if this queen hadn't been on c5, yeah, if it had been anywhere, so like if it had been on like b6 or wherever else, right? Then I think that this one would not have been as much of a problem for me, maybe, as it actually was. I don't know. But I mean that was kind of what I was going for. People don't usually go for that exchange. I mean, I sometimes do if I'm feeling like playing a little bit of an adventurous game. But yeah, I think that with the queen swinging over to the kingside idea, though, this works pretty well. So we then have pawn takes, bishop takes. Yeah, yeah. Mm, does bishop is bishop takes actually good there? Is bishop takes actually good there? And again, my point here is that well, so the thing. I mean, like, what else am I really going to do with this bishop, right? I mean, it's that square is occupied, so it's not going to come back. If the queen leaves, like, to e1, then the bishop just goes ahead and takes anyway. Um, I think... I wonder, would king g2 be the idea here? So if king g2, queen h5, do I still have a defense here? Because, like... Yeah, he's going to potentially go queen h3 here. Do I have anything there? I don't know. I'm honestly wondering, like, if maybe in theory I was just kind of dead lost here already. So again, yeah, looking at this, the more I look at this, the more I'm convinced I have become that here, back on move 9, instead of playing, bishop e5, I should have just played the bishop e2 instead. That was really, really the right idea there, I think. So I want you guys to notice though, right? So when I played bishop c6, I was 8 moves past the point where I played bishop e5 instead of bishop e2. Right now, of course, I couldn't have calculated all this out all the way, especially not in a game with a rapid time control. But I think though that I should have seen here the idea that the bishop would have been better placed on e2, and also the queen. Yeah, the queen on e2 is not a bad move. So I also want to see though, should I maybe play pawn h3 a little earlier? Yeah, like should I after you play knight c6, should I just have played pawn h3 here? I feel like yeah, that probably would have been the most sensible thing there, I think, to do. Because then, he just goes rook d8, right, again, threatening the queen, and then I just go bishop d2 anyways. But the difference is that he's never going to play bishop g4, and he's never going to be able to have that attack against the knight. I mean, it's just not going to happen, right? The only way he's going to get it now is if he, like, maybe tries doing a kingside pawn storm or whatever. So... Yeah, and I feel like, again, going back from this point we were at, I think the rest of this is really not much to look at here, right? Yeah, it's all just lost there. So in review, just again looking at this game and how it went, I think that the takeaway that I get from it is really just piece placement, right? I am try pulling the bishop into a place where it was attacking, and just not, I guess, putting enough consideration into the defense of my pieces, right? So, I mean, yeah, like, he did great, right? I mean, I didn't, like, blunder anything outright immediately, right? He just outplayed me and found the best moves, so... Yeah, hopefully that's something to learn from in future games. So, Yeah, that's all I have for you today. Get out of here and keep playing chess, my friends.